So I'm starting the preparation for this 50 kilowatt hour Env200 Vivne battery build. When the customer brought the packages to me, we stacked them up in letter order, so A, B, C and D. Unfortunately, we didn't check that sequence against where the modules are going to fit. So A, which is on top, is actually front left, but from memory from the last battery I built in the Env200, it doesn't actually make a huge amount of difference which order we unpack them in. I've just found that module C is the rear bottom, so that's worth bearing in mind for the future, because I'm short of space here and I've had to stack all the boxes with the modules up. But anyway, I've cut the outer layer of cling film off, and now I'm actually going to cut these metal brackets rather than unscrewing them. So I'm just going to cut along to line with the top, so I can take the top off and leave the bottom built as a crate. So yeah, going to press on with that and I'll update you in a second. So I'm just going to use my angle grinder with the very thin cutting blade attachment on it, so I can slice through these and whip the lid off. So cutting these brackets was a lot quicker and easier than undoing all of the screws, because it's 6 screws per bracket all the way around. This only took a few moments and it's done. Yes, there's a couple of sharp edges, but from our point of view, it gets the lid off, and once we've emptied the crate, we can just drop the lid back on and park it for the moment. So I've cut away the top layer of this kind of super thick cling film stuff. There's a whole load of polystyrene wadding, which they use to keep everything safe in transit. I'm going to pop all these out. Hopefully we'll find someone that can recycle these, because there's a lot of them. So this is just getting all of these loose bits out of the way, and now we can see we've got the packing list with the module, various wirings and so on. So I'll just keep unpacking this lot, and then we're ready to start thinking about putting modules into the empty casing that I already have lined up. Every single component in here is nicely wrapped with cling film. The important ones are all labelled properly as well, so that there's no chance of miswiring everything. So yeah, a few minutes worth of unwrapping, but I can check it off against the checklist they provide, and then we're ready for the next one. All the cable ends and all the cables they produce, as well as being well labelled, they're all nice thick connectors, all properly crimped on, heat sealed, plastic protected, the lot. Really impressed with these. So there's a technical snag here you'd encounter if you were going to do the same by unboxing these and using them one by one as per the letter sequence. You need to lift these out of here, and the straps that they provide are in a different box and therefore a lower box. But because I've done them before, I have some straps here, so I'm not going to be in trouble for this one, but I would suggest that it's worth unpacking them in the order that they get fitted to the vehicle, so that hopefully the lifting straps will be in the, I believe it was box C that had the bottom rear set in it. So it would be worth unpacking that first. Last time we did one of these, we opened up all 4 at once and unpacked them all at once because we had the space, but today I'm struggling for space a bit, so trying to be a bit more economical with how much I use. So that's all unpacked, got the cling film off everything except for the battery modules. I've got the lifting straps attached at the 4 corners. So I will get my engine hoist, which I'll use to pull it out of the box here, and then I can use the same hoist to line the module up in the battery casing. So I found with the last build, once the modules were in position, it was really hard to get the lifting cables and stuff off. So what I'm going to suggest and what I'm going to do today is to get the cables off with the module nearly in the right position, and then I can just tweak it into position by hand without all the cables and carabiners and stuff getting in the way. So here's a little ease of use tip while you're opening up the crates on the Vivno delivered battery packs. You often find that the screws just rotate when you're trying to pull them out. As long as your screwdriver bit is the right size, PZ2, it's a good fit in the head, and all you need to do is just twist it sideways a little and out it comes. Very, very easy. So please forgive the compressor running in the background. I know it's a bit noisy. As with the last battery build, I've loosely bolted BMS into the BMS mounting brackets so that when I secure the BMS mounting brackets to module C, which goes at the bottom at the back, then we know that the brackets are in the right place. Now that those are done up tight, I'm just going to whip these four back out and put the BMS away safely for the moment again, and then we're ready to drop this module C in, and then D will go on top of it. So using the PDF instruction sheet and a little bit of visual help from their video on their webpage from Vivnet, I've got the four modules lined up, all bolted down with the spacers, everything that we need, all good, all tight. So next step, start on the wiring. It's all detailed in the PDF as to how the wiring goes in sequence. So onwards. So it's only nearly 31 degrees in the workshop today, but anyway, all the modules are in, all the wiring is in, all the bus bars and connections are in. I've just got to fit the BMS tomorrow and then cable tie all the wiring securely, and then we can use the EV's enhanced OBD2 adapter to plug in, make sure with LeafSpy that all is good. So for tonight, turning off the fan, going to close up and head in. So with all the cells and modules connected up together, I've put the original 24 kilowatt hour BMS in just to get some LeafSpy readings of it and confirm that all is well. We're still waiting for the reflashed one to come back, so this one's just, I've not turned it up tight, I've just put a couple of bolts in here to make sure it doesn't flap around. So yeah, using LeafSpy here on the EV's enhanced OBD2 connector kit. We've got some live figures, which I will show you in a second. So here we have the LeafSpy. Obviously I've set the main settings here. I'll just show you in main settings. I've got these settings set for BMS motor inverter. If I change this to be, say, 60 to 62 kilowatt hour, it actually detects that it's got the 24 kilowatt hour BMS in, and of course the BMS has the old state of health and HX data in it. We've got 3.6 volts average across all the cells, which you can see down at the bottom where it says min av max, so that's all good. It means obviously that state of charge is also complete nonsense because it's reading off a 24 kilowatt hour BMS and not the reflashed one, but it shows that we've got some really good cell balance, and it's just sitting here waiting for us to install the correct BMS and bolt the lid on with my reusable seal, which I'll show you. I'll try and remember to link it, but if not, you can look up seal in my YouTube channel and it will show you the preferred solution that I like to use. So I'm just refitting the cooling tubes that feed the front modules here. You can see the outlet holes, and also feeds to the back like this kind of whale tail, but I'm going to just do the cable ties on the cables all the way around first, because this whale tail is going to get in my way if I do it now. So I'm going to zap some cable ties on and of course clip off the loose ends, and then once everything's cable tied nicely into position, I'll pop the whale tail in, and then I'm ready to look at cleaning up the old glue off here and getting their modified seal fitted. Now what I have found with this whale tail that I'm fitting finally now, it's got a certain amount of movement forwards and backwards like this. What I like to do is pull it towards the front of the battery as much as possible so that there's a decent sized air gap along here, next to the battery for the air to actually get out, because what I have seen on these is when it's pushed all the way towards the pack, there's not really that much gap and it's actually going to block the airflow. So by making sure it's pulled this way while I'm doing it up tight, it keeps the air gap in there. You can just see the gap, so there's plenty of room for the air to come out and do its job. So I trim away all the old silicone seal with this window scraper. It's very effective for getting rid of 90% of it, and then when that's all done, I use one of these fiber wheels on an angle grinder just to remove the rest of it. Then I put a lick of zinc based spray paint on so that there's no rust, and that keeps it all nice and tidy, ready for the rubber seal to go on. So that's got the mating faces all nicely cleaned up. Excuse me, but being a bit of a stickler for visual quality as well as everything else, I'm going to go over these areas with my needle tool supplied by Worth. Very, very effective. It'll knock off all the rust, and then while I've got the zinc paint out, I can make this look a lot less unattractive. So I've knocked off the worst of the loose rust from these, given it a good blow over. I've then gone over it with this epoxy rust stop primer, which we will leave to set. You can see where it's on the bare metal, where it's going purple, showing me that it's worked nicely. So I'm going to leave that to go off. Then I'm going to put the zinc paint over the top of it, and that will give it some double protection. No one will probably ever see any of this again, but that's not the point. The point is for me that when it goes out the door, I know that it's as good as I can get it. Here's the before and after on this battery casing that I'm just cleaning up. You can see that the anti-rust epoxy primer is just setting now. Then I'm going to give the coat of zinc spray. So here's the before. So while the Brunox is setting on the bottom half of the clamshell, I've gone around the top mating face and cleaned it all up. So I'm going to put a quick lick of zinc spray on this, and then the Brunox should be dry enough for me to do the same with the bottom half. So here's the during. You can see that all the bare or rusty metal has changed colour, so that I know that it's worked. It's all dry to the touch. So time for some zinc spray, tidy it up and keep the rust at bay. And there's the after. Brunox anti-rust and zinc spray. No one will probably ever see it again, but it matters to me. Ready to deal with the seal. So here we go. Bottom of the casing has dried up the Brunox anti-rust epoxy, and I've now put the zinc spray on. So I'm going to give this a while to dry up. In the meantime, I can be fitting the extended studs that they like to use on these. While it's been drying, I've done the mating face of the lid as well. So that's ready to go back on when all the seals are all fit. So the Brunox anti-rust epoxy's gone off. I've put the zinc primer onto it. I've put 2 coats on just to be sure. I've put the extended studs on that Vivnet provide. I find with these, rather than hitting them with a hammer, I just put a socket over them and bend them to be vertical like this. And then I can work out the position for the rubber seal, get that glued on, and then I'll leave the lid dropped on it overnight while the adhesive fixes the sealant to the bottom case, or the sealing rubber gasket, whatever you want to call it. And then tomorrow we'll be in a position to bolt it down in theory, but obviously we're still waiting on the correct BMS, but it's all progress. So I've got the fit gasket lined up now, ready with a dry fit. Just pushed it down over the bolts to get the hole positions on the corners here where it's not going to want to sit down too accurately on its own. Going to hold it with some masking tape while the provided adhesive goes off to glue it to the casing. I'll then drop the lid onto it to make sure that everything stays put while the glue sets. And the same round here. We'll make sure these edges are nice and close together. I'll put a drop of adhesive on the joining edges here too, and then when we go to drop the lid on, that will hold it all in place with the masking tape until the glue has dried. So I've got the glue between the spacer seal that they provide and the casing here. To keep it all in position, I've used masking tape first, as they recommend, and then I've just dry fitted the lid with the bolts run down tight, or rather the nuts run down tight, so that the seal stays nicely in position while the glue goes off. When that's done, I'm going to pop the lid off and just dress up the nasty edges the same as I've done on the bottom here, but I'm also going to put this windproof, waterproof seal from Verth onto the mating face inside the lid here. I'll show you when I've got the lid back off to do it, and that gives it some extra compression and weatherproofing, and makes sure that the lid comes off nice and easily if ever it needs to be removed for any reason whatsoever. While I'm waiting for the glue to finish setting on the spacer seal they provide, I've updated the factory label to show that it has the Vivner 50 kilowatt hour kit fitted by myself this month in this year. So I'm going to go and have myself a nice cup of tea now. Same as with the bottom half of the casing, I've used my kind of needle tool, rotary needle tool, to clean up the loose flaky bits around the edge of the pack, and I'm now going to give them a coating of the epoxy Brunox and then the zinc spray, keep the rust at bay for the next 20 years or more. So here we are, the 50 kilowatt hour pack upgrade from Vivner is now built and ready. The seal is stuck down, the bolts around the outside are secured and cut down to a less obtrusive length. All we're now waiting on is the reflashed BMS, but for the moment I'm going to leave this one in here while I put the lid on it and park it while we're waiting for the delivery. Another one bites the dust. So this windproof, waterproof tape from Worth, it comes fully compressed in its normal position. This one will compress down to 2 mil and will expand up to 20, so it makes it nice and easy to run it around the edges of the battery seal here. Once it's been exposed to the atmosphere, it will expand up to full width, and that will be shown in a second. So you can see here where I've started and finished. It's only been a couple of minutes since I've actually started, and you can see the foam has already started to expand up nicely in places. That will go on expanding up to 20 millimeters if there's enough room for it. The beauty with this is that it takes up any potential gaps between the lid and the base. In this case, obviously the rubber gasket that's around the base because of the upgrade, but yeah, it does a really good job. And here for the moment is the battery pack all finished. I like to use some extra penny washers underneath these nuts with built-in washers that come with the kit, just because it helps to spread the load on the lid a bit better. You can find that there's a bit of localized distortion around where the nuts go back on if you don't use these, but it does make sure that everything's held down nice and tight and keep all the rubbers compressed for weatherproofing.